Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Cult of Chucky.
Did you just say you're going to be our horse for tonight?
Yeah, I am the
I like it.
horse. Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
Jump on it.
We are-
my pose.
here. We are here tonight to discuss Cult of Chucky, the latest in the Child's Play franchise. I am the host of Bloody Good Horror. Joining me tonight, first up, his name is Joe.
What up, motherfuckers?
Yeah, his name is
Ha
Joe. Next up on the show, coming to us from Indiana, his name is Casey.
Yeah, what's up, motherfuckers?
And last up tonight, coming to you from Hotlanta, Georgia, her name is Cece.
I feel like if I said what's up, motherfuckers,
What's
you
up?
might not have me back.
Bars set low, Casey. Or Cece.
Yeah, I handled that pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah.
Joe Charnews,
Yes, sir.
guess what's coming up very soon?
Oh, we are under the 2-week mark, and it's gonna be fucking big.
Do you feel excited? I feel very excited.
I am excited / nervous. There's like a pit in my stomach. Big things are happening. The big BGH 10-year super back to spooky school fiesta, we're calling this. A lot of stuff going on. So next Thursday, Andy is actually going to be up in Milwaukee. He's going to be up there being interviewed by the good folks at WMSE, and they've actually partnered with us. They're going to be at the event 6:30, starting at the Great Lakes Distillery up in Milwaukee. So we got to give a big shout out to them. He's actually going to be on the Tom Wanderer radio experience next week. So if you're in the area, look out for that. I'm about to throw up. There's something in my stomach. So yeah, Great Lakes Distillery.
Wow, Joe, we are nailing this right now.
I am so sorry. So yeah, 6:30, the Great Lakes Distillery. That's where we're starting things off. So we've got to thank them. And then over at midnight, we're going to be moving over to the Oriental Theater, showing a newly restored 4K version of Reanimator.
Yes.
And Andy was kind enough, because we got a couple questions to pass along. This is the integral cut, which is apparently a different version. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's going to be great. And if you guys have been following us on Instagram, we've been posting up that we're going to have new t-shirts. We're going to have posters available and everything, specifically for this event. I was actually out and about wearing one of the t-shirts this week, and just people were flocking to me. We got to thank Jeff Harkins. He's actually the one who designed everything for us. He's been super cool. You can find him on Instagram at Jeff Harkins. Just look that up and start following his stuff, and you can see some other things that he's done. But we're super excited. The design he did was awesome, and he's put up with the back and forth that John, Andy, and I have been giving him. So big shout out to him.
Nice.
And yeah, that's kind of it. You can get tickets on our website, bloodygoodhorror.com, or we have an Eventbrite page going, which is where you can actually do the purchasing. If you just search back to Spooky School, we're the first thing that comes up. So, we're all over the place. Oh, and last thing, we got to thank Renegade Brewing, also based out of Denver, but they're donating a couple kegs for us to have samples of at the distillery as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot going on there. It's going to be big.
Wow, some upstate New York love there.
Yeah. Renegade, for those who don't know, is actually a friend of ours. I graduated with him, but Mark and Eric know him as well. Started a brewery out in Denver. They're doing great, and they distribute to Milwaukee now. So that's how we kind of got this hookup. So big stuff.
Serious question, Joe. Am I gonna die in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
I mean, the
feel
thing
like-
is,
I feel like I
we
might-
can joke about it, but we have a lot to actually do. So I don't know if we're gonna have time to die.
But even just doing stuff sort of kills me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I don't know. I think John and Andy have put a lot on themselves, and somehow thought that I would be of any sort of help to them. So you might be okay. I don't know. We'll see where the thing goes.
I keep telling Schnorrs, like, let me know if there's anything I can do. And I don't know if it's just if he's just treating me with kid gloves or what, but he's just like, no, we got it, buddy. Don't worry about it. I'm like, all right.
Cool. It's mildly under control, I gotta say.
I was told I didn't have to do anything but show up, so
yeah,
I'm gonna die.
My only concern was, will I get a bed? And I was assured, yes, I will. So that's all I really care about.
Yeah, that's kind of the other big thing. So I think almost all of us are going to be there. Mark was kind of a last minute decision, but he will be there now. So we've got like 3 different houses full of BGHers. So if you've ever wanted to meet almost any of us, you're going to want to make this trip.
And also see us all get emotional celebrating the milestone, which I'm sure will happen.
Yeah, I might hug someone.
Yeah, Joe never hugs people. You should know.
I don't, it's not my family's way, but
yeah, I'm already thinking about my naps. Gonna have to schedule some naps in. I suggested today. Nobody seemed to like this, but I suggested that it occurred to us that this is the weekend that Boo Madea Halloween or Boo 2 or whatever comes out. I think we should all go. I think like 20 of us should just roll into a theater with matching shirts on and go see it.
Yeah,
That's
funny.
We're all gonna. Most of us are gonna be in Friday, right? What's going on Friday during the day?
I think a lot of people get in later on Friday, right? Like Cece, you don't get in until like midnight or something, right?
Yeah, I get in at like 11:30, so I'll be there just late.
I'm
assuming you're driving.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave in the morning, so I'll be there afternoonish.
By the time Cece gets
the
in,
missus I think is coming too. So
nice.
By the time Cece gets in, I will have taken several naps and will be already asleep for the night for a few hours, most likely.
No, if you take the naps, that means you got to be ready when I get there.
That's not how that works.
You haven't met Eric.
That is how that works.
No, the naps are just to sustain everyday function. It's not to, prolong it.
I haven't hit that stage yet. My naps are re-ups for right now.
What's that like?
Eric, I like your idea of going to see Madea 2, all in the same shirts and stuff, but it makes me picture that scene from Gremlins in the movie theater.
Nice. I'm very excited. It's very close, Joe. I feel like I can feel it.
I know. I'm getting a little nervous.
Thinking about packing. I don't know what I'm going to wear. Probably just a hoodie.
So do you change every time you take a nap?
That's a good question. Is it a sweaty nap? Sometimes you take a sweaty nap and you wake up and you're like,
That's
I gotta change.
I just didn't know if every time you took a nap, if you had to if you felt renewed at all.
Yeah.
That's a wake up time decision, I think.
There's a lot going on with me, Cece. Cece, last week we were talking about like Halloween traditions and things, and aside from telling a couple terrifying stories of how your dad used to torture you when you were a kid, you didn't really tell us, like, I didn't get around to you, like, what is it that, what do you like to do on, like, a fun, spooky Halloween evening?
I mean, I like to decorate the house, and at Halloween, I get really excited to have trick-or-treaters. Our neighborhood's kind of, in between, where, like, I get 1 or 2 groups of kids, but not a whole lot. So, yeah, we watch a lot of scary movies, and I try to either revisit my favorite scary books or find some new ones. But yeah, I like keep it pretty traditional.
What are you reading right now?
Well, I'm kind of in between, but I've started the new Nick Cutter book, which now that you've asked me that, I can't think of what
is that starring one detective Harry Hole?
No. I thought about it. I thought about checking it out, and I was just like, I don't know if I can, because I would just laugh.
Can you please do it and report
We all
back?
think about Harry Hole from time to
time. I just started Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. It's the same guy who wrote The Troop, and it was kind of like a even darker version of Lord of the Flies. So we'll see how that goes.
I had this whole plan to read, finish Storm of Swords, and then so I could read some Stephen King during October. But George R.R. Martin is thwarting me because that book is so goddamn long. I'm through
that is a really long one.
I'm through all the important stuff, right? Like I'm through the Red Wedding and the Purple Wedding, and I'm through the the Trial by Combat, and there's 400 more pages left. I'm like, what the hell? I don't even know what's gonna happen in the other 2 books, let alone in the rest of this book. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying it. But
What happens at the purple wing? What is
Oh,
the theme there?
Joe, so
It's
many,
fabulous.
so many things. Yeah, it's fabulous. So many things happen,
You
Joe.
know that George R.R. Martin wrote a vampire book, right?
No, that sounds.
Yeah, it's called Fever Dream. So you'll have to
Oh.
read that after
Oh.
you finish your Game of Thrones.
That sounds miserable.
What?
I don't really like vampires. I'm not really a vampire person.
Well, it's not like they're not like Anne Rice vampires. They're more like the old school like Strigolgi vampires.
I mean, if the Anne Rice vampire also happens to be Brad Pitt, I'm kind of into it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, then maybe it would have been better had it been Anne Rice vampires.
Have at me,
I
Brad
think we
Pitt.
were talking about it, but I was watching that movie recently. I was just like, God damn it, he is gorgeous in this movie.
He's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that movie too. I can
Like,
watch him for hours.
Just a perfect human specimen. It's really incredible.
This is
I
true.
will watch Fight Club over and over again. Not even because I like it, but just because I want to be him.
Oh man.
Casey, you just sent us Halloween treat.
Yes.
What is this thing?
It's a 12-foot tall inflatable pumpkin king.
I think I saw this in Target.
Yeah, I think Lowe's has them too. We got it at Home Goods or something like that. But
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Target now carries like all of these different skeleton animals. But
yeah.
they do this thing that's really annoying where like they make skeleton what should be cartilage. Like the cats have like all the animals have ears, like bone ears, even though that would be cartilage.
yeah,
Like,
or the spider skeletons.
I realize I'm being a stickler about the cheap, probably poisonous skeleton made in China or whatever, but you know.
Well, I mean, like, what else would you do? Would you just make it like full plastic?
No, you just have holes there, right? Isn't that what you have?
Well, then how would you know it was a cat?
Damn it, Cece.
I'm just asking.
You
I
put
mean,
it in
I agree with you. Don't make it a bone ear. I just want to know what's the better option.
You put it in like a cat,
Little bone whiskers.
like a cat pose. I don't know. I
Well,
actually,
hey, I'm
I
with
think
you.
I think I scared the shit out of my wife the other day because I was looking at decorations and like, we don't have a lot of space and it's hard for me to justify spending my money on a lot of that stuff. So I didn't really buy anything. But then I said to my wife, I was like, you know what I could see myself getting into as I get older? I was like, you go to like Michael's and they have those like little like Halloween towns.
Yes.
And you just,
I
like,
wanna do
yeah.
that so
Every
bad.
year you like get a new piece or something. And she looked at me like I just told her I was a serial killer.
Oh, I have not ventured into that, but Christmas, there is one fucking shit ton of a village underneath our tree.
Is there?
Yeah.
I love that goddamn
I
thing.
don't know.
there's
Like I
no
could
tomorrow.
I'm kind of over the like cheap, plastic Halloween decorations, but I could kind of get into that.
I know.
I'm
I've
with you.
really thought about it.
I don't
so.
know. I don't know. Maybe there's a train in the town and the conductor's a ghost. I'm just spitballing here.
Spooky train.
This is amazing. I like where this is going.
People out there in TV land, send me pictures of your Halloween towns if you have them. I'd like to see them.
Oh, this is gonna be nice.
All of our 60-year-old listeners are getting excited now to send me in pictures.
I think this year, as long as the weather holds up and stuff, when we get out there on Halloween, I'm going to try and do like I did last year and do some Facebook Live stuff out there with our Halloween as we start scaring the kids and stuff. So
Nice.
should be good. We're changing themes this year. So.
We're definitely gonna have to do some like Instagram Live or something once we're out in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sure. My new favorite Halloween tradition is taking the kid to all the Halloween stores and then trying to force her to hug all the shit that scares the hell out of her. Like there's the Spirit Halloween or whatever the hell's nearest has this Regan from The Exorcist, and like the head spins and it starts screaming at you like right when you walk in. So like Leslie and I'll just be like, she's sick, she needs your help. Go hug her. She'll feel better.
Those things are
Now I
terrifying.
see why hugging is not your family's way.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, in Joe's
They,
family, hugging is a form of psychological torture.
Yeah.
Speaking of Spirit of Halloween, I think I hit some kind of time space warp or something like that. The last time we were in ours, they had a big display set up with a lot of their big animatronic stuff, and there's like couple Walking Dead ones, and there's like a giant alien in a spacesuit that lit up, and there's just all sorts of crazy stuff. But I happened to be walking away from it, and I turn around. There's this little fat kid that I swear probably looked like me. He's about 8 years old. And he comes through. You just see his face light up as he walks in there. And he's like, and he took off running over to that display. I'm like, oh my God, I think I just saw myself.
Yeah. You really should have told him to change his ways.
Casey's like, have I gone back in time? What the hell? Like, is this a time warp?
You
this
can
is
still
your
change this.
this is your future, Chubbs.
Oh man.
You could change it still. But it was good to see the excitement too. So
Casey, you just hit on some real shit that's now kind of bumming me out. So Joe,
I'm sorry.
Joe, you know what we do when we're bummed out?
Drink.
We drink.
Damn.
Beer guts.
What are we drinking this week, Joe?
Oh, it makes me happy. We're watching Cult of Chucky, which, for those of you who are familiar with the Chucky lore, I forget the guy's name, but a murderer used his little voodoo skills to transport himself into a good guy doll. And because of that fun transformation, I picked a beer from the fine folks at Rogue Ales and Spirits. And this is their Voodoo Donut Mango Astronaut Ale.
What? You know, I think these nonsense beer names have gone too far, Joe.
So Voodoo Donut is a donut company out in Portland, which is where Rogue is based out of, or just outside. So these guys do collaborations. You've probably seen these in your store because Rogue distributes like all over America. But they have like these pink or sort of, sometimes they're white, like ceramic bottles of these beers. And I've had a handful of them. They've all been super good. This one I liked. It's a mango ale, or, you know, a fruit beer. So not really a wheat, more it has like sort of a breadiness to it, like a little bit of malt in there, not like you know, like a wheat beer that you might drink. But this one, it sounds kind of weird, but it actually comes off pretty good. The mango, I think, balances things out really well. And that's kind of the main flavor, but it's not super overpowering. And the thing I like about this is it doesn't have sort of like that fake artificial flavor to it. I don't know how they do it in the brewing process, but I assume they use real mangoes. You get a little like citrus and almost like a grassy flavor, which sounds weird, but it's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, everything Rogue puts out, I've done a handful of beers for the show of theirs. Everything they put out is great. And if you get your chance to, you know, grab one of these or any of the beers that they've done with Voodoo, like I definitely suggest doing that. Rogue.com is their website. And yeah, that's the stuff right there. Check it out.
Sorry, I just.
Oh
right
man, you loved it. One of your favorites, I can see.
Right as you were finishing, sorry, I just bust out into a yawn. It's been a long day. All right, guys,
Appreciate it.
It is time. Let's take a quick break and talk about Cult of Chucky.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. No John Schnars this week, so no word of the day. I'm going to attempt to synopsize this here movie. So,
Cool.
Cult of Chucky, 2017, directed and written by Don Mancini, who, for those of you keeping track at home, Mancini, he wrote the first film and he was a producer. He helped, I'm not sure if he wrote, I think he wrote the second and third films, and he was involved in all of them. He wrote, I believe he wrote Bride of Chucky, and then Seed, I believe was his first directed movie, like ever. And then he directed Seed. He directed the last one. Yeah, he did, let's see. He's directed Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and Cult of Chucky. So it's the only thing he's directed. It's kind of just been like his little pet thing he's been able to keep control of for whatever reason, which I think is an interesting story in itself. Starring in this film, we have Alex Vincent returning, who's Andy Barclay, and he's the same child. He was the child actor who played Andy in the early movies.
Oh man, they got him.
Yeah, they nailed him. Brad Dourif back as the voice of Chucky, making that one Oscar nominee in this movie. And his daughter, Fiona Dourif, returns as Nika, who is the lady in a wheelchair from the previous film who gets the murders blamed on her at the end of the film. And we also learned some like crazy shit in the last movie about like her backstory, which is actually not at all important to this movie. But when we pick up, she's basically in an insane asylum, and we actually start the movie with Alex Vincent. So at the end of the last movie, Chucky had mailed himself to Andy, who seems to be ready for him because he basically murders him with a shotgun or something. Like, that's kind of what happens at the end of the movie. He's only in the very end, and I only know this because I looked it up on Wikipedia. But after murdering Chucky, he basically keeps Chucky's head. This was kind of sweet, but like, he keeps Chucky's dismembered head like on a spike in a vault on his wall, basically. And the first scene is kind of this like humorous thing where he's on a date. He's on like a Tinder date or something, and they're talking about how he's into guns, and he's like, no, I'm not really into guns, and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes up who he is, and the date kind of doesn't go great. And then he goes back home. This is the point at which he takes Chucky's head out of the wall and starts talking to it, and then smokes weed with it. And also like tortures him at some point. So clearly Andy's going through some shit. It's kind of interesting setup. And then we cut to Fiona Dorff, she's been blamed for the murder. She's in an insane asylum, and she's got this doctor who is about to transfer her to a medium security, so like a lesser security place. And once she gets there pretty early on, like a Chucky doll ends up there. I don't know. Like, I think her doctor brings the first one in. And
he's using it as like some form of like confronting her fears.
Yeah, some kind of bullshit like that. And of course it like immediately comes to life, and then starts kind of messing with her. I think it kills somebody pretty early on, but then this other thing starts happening, and we'll get to it more as we go on. But like, there are other Chuckies that show up in this place at some point, and they actually become animated with Charles Lee Ray's spirit. So there's multiple Chuckies running around, people dying. Jennifer Tilly shows up. Alex Vincent, who kind of disappears from most of the movie, shows up again towards the end. And just kind of batshit craziness that happens. But it all takes place basically in this really weird-looking mental hospital type facility. And, yeah. As to, like, Chucky's motives in this movie or the overall story, like, Chucky's around and there's a bunch of them. That's about all I got. So, Joe, do you remember like what you thought of the last movie and then what you thought of this one?
I do not. I think I sort of liked it. I know we did it for the show, but I do not remember like what my opinion was, to be honest. So there's that. This one, I think I probably disliked more than the last one, if I liked it at all. I was not a huge fan. Which is weird because I think we've all read a decent amount of buzz. I know a bunch of people on our Slack channel have said that they liked it. And I know Mark actually watched it and thought it was pretty fun. But I just felt like it was lacking something. And we talked about this over email, but there's definitely a lot of callbacks to not only Curse of Chucky, but like the earlier films too, which... I have seen, but you know, I haven't watched them 100 times, and I felt like a lot of that stuff was over my head. Like I remember I said it over email, and I was even joking with my wife because she watched it with me. Like I feel like I am in the same sort of mindset as like watching Game of Thrones, where I know they're talking about stuff that happened, but I don't understand what the hell is going on.
So this movie started, and I immediately had to go pause, and I went to Wikipedia and I read the entire plot description of the last movie, and only then was I like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I did not remember much of it, and my wife hadn't even seen it, which I didn't realize that this was like a straight continuation of the last movie, but it is. Yeah. So I tried to explain to her a lot of stuff, but I also didn't remember. And even like I feel like there was a lot of like nodding and winking at the camera of stuff that they mentioned that kind of ties to even like the earlier films, which it got to a point where I wasn't sure if I was missing something or it really wasn't a tie-in. Like I'm trying to remember, there was something. Oh, at one point, one of the good guy dolls shows up and his like head is shaved or like his hair is cut. Yeah. And I'm like, is that a reference to one of the earlier films, or is that just like a kid did that? Like,
it did kind of look like the son's hair a little bit, but I feel like it was more at the point that they had Chucky's running around, they needed some way to visually distinguish them. And so one of them was buried underground, so his hair is messed up. The other one had his hair cut. I feel like that was just a contrived way to make them look different.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like I wasn't sure if I was missing something there. And then on top of that, like I just thought the setting was really strange. Like right off the bat, the doctor that she's seeing is just a shitty doctor. Like his therapy is like day 2 bringing in this doll that scares the shit out of everyone and like just forcing him to hang out with it. And then this is weird, but I felt like the main nurse was wearing an outfit from Spencer's of like a nurse uniform, like for
like naughty nurse.
Yeah, like for a group of people who are in like sort of a mental home, having this nurse walk around where you can see her bits and berries for the entire time, like I can't imagine that's good for their therapy. But I don't know, it just struck me as odd. So yeah,
Well, it
in general,
depends
I
on
was
what their affliction is.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of this one.
Casey.
So yeah, I enjoyed this for the most part. I saw Curse of Chucky. That was the previous one, right? But that one, while I remember enjoying it and not being, like mad at it or anything, I don't remember a damn thing about it hardly, except for Fiona Dorff in the wheelchair. That's all I remember. And I even had to go look that up once this movie started to make sure that that was her in that previous movie. That's how little I remembered it. But getting into this one, I enjoyed it. There was some good there's some good play on the title of the movie, and you're kind of looking for how this cult's going to take place. And once it does finally come together, I thought it was kind of funny and it was worth a laugh. There's some good laughs there. I thought like the visual kills and stuff that they did, they lived up to the legacy of those, and they were fun. The story was all right. It kind of petered and walks off sort of feeling. But other than that, it's not something that I probably wouldn't have liked it if I saw it as paid $15 to see it in the theater or whatever. But for something that's gone straight to Netflix, there's a hell of a lot worse out there to watch, especially this time of month. This time of the year and around Halloween and stuff.
Yeah. Cece.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that was said, because I actually didn't see Curse of Chucky. I've always liked the Chucky movies. I just never got around to seeing that one. So I was super lost. So the whole bit at the beginning when they are at the hospital and they're really making a lot of references to the previous movie, I had no idea what was going on. So that got a little bit slow, but once Chucky actually shows up and things start kind of going down, I agree with Casey. Like, the kills were really cool, and I liked the little twist at the end, I guess, but I'm still super confused as to why it's called Cult of Chucky.
Yes,
so
we can talk
I'm
about that.
I'm a little disappointed.
I mean, the funny thing too about the last movie is that it kind of doesn't matter, other than that a bunch of people died.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's important is that she was blamed for it, even though it was Chucky, because that's what gets her into the hospital. But as far as the rest of it, like, it is important to know, I guess, that Andy shows up, or like Andy comes into it at the end. But even in the end, like, he's not really that germane to the actual plot. Like,
well, I was gonna say, I didn't look up I didn't like Wikipedia while I was watching it. So, I mean, I caught on to obviously like what had happened. Like, I realized that's why she was in the hospital, but it wasn't as much of a standalone as I think I was expecting for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, for starters, it's just, it is kind of a cool thing that Don Mancini, I think his name is, I gotta look at it. Well, there's a producer guy that was really involved in the earlier movies, that he has kind of been involved with all these movies going into the series. It's cool that these guys still have control of this IP, first of all, and that they're still able to make these movies and get money. And it's kind of been an interesting proving ground for Mancini as a director. That makes it, I think, an interesting story for horror in general, because it's just not the norm with these kind of series. It's really interesting that they really just go whole hog on being connected to the last movie, because I think part of what worked interestingly about the last movie is it was pretty standalone. Like, the last movie really jumped off as like a new chapter for Chucky, and then now this movie is just right up its own ass again with like being tied to the last one. So I'm not sure that was a great decision. This is the thing that surprised me the most about this is it's really visually ambitious, and you look. He was in college in like 1986 or 7 he wrote it. So you got to think, like, he's, got to be in his 40s or 50s, and he's only directed 3 movies, so he's really kind of like learning as he does these films. There's some like really cool shots in this movie. It's set, in snow. in this really weird looking mental hospital that has these great visual opportunities. It's a really gory film, and those death scenes are pretty cool. And I think that work with Chucky, I think it's a little off-putting sometimes, but I enjoyed it. Like more full body shots than we're used to seeing for sure.
Yeah.
It's just kind of just weird and unsettling.
The only time that I think it bothered me is when he's like standing over her. I think she's like having a nightmare or something, and it's kind of like supposed to be that he's like he's bigger than she is.
Yeah.
There was just some weird, like, I don't know if it was the CGI or something. That was the only part that I felt like that was a little too much.
I also think that this movie is pretty funny. Like I laughed a good deal at this movie, especially like the opening scene where Andy is talking shit to like Chucky's head on a spike basically, and then they're smoking weed together. I did like that whole concept was really funny to me. It's just weird because then they completely drop that, and then the whole movie is about Nika in the hospital, who's not necessarily a character you really, even if you've seen the first movie, it's like, okay, you know, I mean, she was still alive and she got blamed, so I guess it's a natural point to jump off from. So anyway, there's some things in this movie that I enjoy, but I feel that the narrative doesn't come together. I think that the last film made a lot of sense and was fun because it was a pretty self-contained story. It was tight. It sort of made things kind of dark and violent again. And that was why it was great, right? Because it was simple. You know, I wasn't asking too much of you. I think the number one problem with this movie, for starters, and the plot is that it's called Cult of Chucky, and there's no cult in the whole movie at all. Like, what they're alluding to, they kind of get at, is that there's multiple Chuckies running around. But that's not what a cult is, right? And, like, to make it worse, they give you this whole, like, end around where you think the whole movie that the doctor is running some kind of Chucky cult and he's brought her in to use her somehow, and then that plot completely fizzles out. I feel like the film was trying to make me think that, and it's just like, so what happens is all these threads, like none of them add up to anything, and they all just kind of fizzle out in the end. Andy shows up again at the end, even though he really has nothing to do with the plot. You know, Jennifer Tilly comes out and like it doesn't. I'm not even clear to me that she knows where she is in this movie. She's basically just called in to like look sassy and have a couple like funny lines. But again, her reasoning for being there and how that affects the plot, it's like super unclear. Other than just like she wants Chucky.
Well, that's,
you know.
That's cutting to your point earlier. Like that, I think is what, like specifically Jennifer Tilly, I think is what throws this a little out of whack. Because you're right. Like the last film, now that I think more about it, like it did feel like it was a start over, and it was like a standalone film. And I don't remember, but I don't think Jennifer Tilly had a part in it, or if she did, it was
It
minimal.
wasn't until the end, but I honestly can't remember. I can look.
Yeah. But like, and then she shows up in this, and she kind of like comes in and out, which makes it feel like they're really jumping back to like Bride of Chucky and all those. Like, I just felt like it was all over the place of where it wanted to pull from, and it just left me like confused with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And there was all the talk about Alice.
She wasn't Curse.
All right.
But Alice was the sister that Fiona was staying with, right?
Yeah.
And then, but then there was all the talk about how they possessed her and all this stuff. Like there was a whole another movie that happened between here that was never made.
You know, the characters you really care about, like Alice's daughter from the last movie.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think maybe for those folks who are big fans of like the previous film and the originals as well, that have watched those like a handful of times, like this probably hits home a lot more to them. Whereas someone who's just seen it once, or like my wife who had never seen it to be, you know, Curse of Chucky, who had never seen it to begin with, are just left feeling a little bit confused and like they're not in on the joke, which I think was my major problem with this.
Yeah, the tone is really kind of weird. It almost ends up feeling a little more like Seed of Chucky, maybe, where it kind of went over the top. It's just like I said, the last movie really works because it kind of went a little more serious, and he's still saying one-liners, right? He's still calling people bitches and like. You know, there's just actually a really funny scene where he's just gotten into the hospital and he's going to go, you think he's going to go murder Fiona Dorff's character, or at least mess with her. And this crazy lady comes out and she starts telling Chucky that she's not real, so she knows he's not real or something like that. And he stops, and he's got the knife in his hand. He's like getting ready to go in the hall. He's just like, he looks over at her, and it's this really funny scene. He's like, "What is wrong with you?" And then, like, he can't scare her because she's crazy, and he gets really frustrated, and he's like, "I'm coming back for you next." And then he just keeps going down the hallway. Like, that stuff was really funny, and I thought there was a lot of funny one-liners like that in this movie.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, once Chucky showed up and like things actually felt like they started happening, I enjoyed it. It was just I didn't really know, I couldn't get my footing in the beginning of the movie, and then by the end of it, I mean, I just didn't feel like it went anywhere.
So for
I was
me,
like, well, I mean,
the problem for me is the middle, because I think it starts out pretty strong. I mean, obviously you have to know what the hell's going on, but like I could have watched a whole movie where like Andy talks to the severed head and goes crazy, and like, I don't know, maybe he becomes a murderer himself or something. But then they just ditch that. And to be fair, this guy, it's cool he's in this movie, but he's like not an actor that can carry a movie. I don't get the sense. But the problem is they get to the hospital, and it seems like there's all this meaning behind what's happening at the hospital with the doctors and the patients. But spoiler alert, there's actually kind of zero meaning to any of it. They're just kind of random characters there. And I think that's what loses me in the middle of the movie and frustrates me, is like, what's the grand plan here? And really it's the hospital, setting the movie in the hospital serves zero function. I didn't, and they kept alluding to, you know, Nika, Fiona Dorff's doctor, like you said, like making it seem like he was running this cult or something, and he keeps referencing like, oh, I love our one-on-one sessions, like you just don't remember them, you don't know like what we do when you're hypnotized. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like there was a lot that was cut out and, you know, maybe rearranged, because it was like, well, are you just trying to allude that he's like assaulting her in these sessions, or like, are you trying, like, are you, but that's what I'm saying, like, is that the only thing that's happening, or are you trying to say like he's doing it for the cult, or like what? Right. The problem is that it has nothing to do with Chucky, his whole character, and then nothing happens with it. Chucky just kind of knocks him out, and then he might kill him towards the end, but I can't honestly remember.
He does, yeah. He knocks him out once, and then he comes back and knocks him out and kills him again.
Yeah, I just don't.
Oh, Fiona kills him.
Yeah, I was like,
there you go.
So that I thought for a minute that the doctor would be like the cult leader or something like that, but then once they revealed that he didn't have anything to do with Chucky, he was just a pervert, I was fine with it. It didn't jar me or anything, but like at the same time, with the way you guys are feeling about that, I thought for sure that the nurse with their what'd you call them, nuts and berries, Joe? I thought for sure she was going to turn out to be something with the cult member or something too, just because she was always kind of lurking in the background. They never made it clear if she was just there or if she had some kind of motives. Same with the other orderly that was nice to her because he left her gum.
It was really bizarre.
I guess the problem is
gum thing was weird.
I guess that was weird. The problem is like making me think that there's something going on behind the scenes at the hospital for the entire movie, and then it means nothing, literally. And the problem is that they spend over half of the movie just with weird cryptic things happening at the hospital, and you trying to put it together. And then it's just kind of
like the guy with the multiple personality, like then he becomes like this weird narrator, like who just pops up and says weird stuff all through the hospital. Like I didn't understand what his role was either.
No, at a certain point, like I thought he was possessed, and I thought like that's where they were kind of going with this. But then it just turned out now he's just a nutbag.
A lot of that stuff with the other people at the hospital and stuff, and even the hospital itself, it's all just cheap ways to set stuff up. They set it in the hospital because they can't have Chucky sneaking into a prison. It's just there's not a good way to do that. So they move her to the mental hospital, makes it easier for her to sneak in there. The rest of the stuff with the doctor and stuff like that, it's all to try and set up their kind of half-hearted jokes later. Because like with the doctor, turns out he's just a pervert, and all it is to set up the joke of Chucky to have Chucky stand there and say, "This dude's fucked up." And then, you know, like with the guy with the multiple personalities, all they did was set up the joke eventually where the twist or joke, either or, however you want to call it, where he thinks he's Charles Lee Ray, but he's just just making shit up. So a lot of it was that kind of setup in there, which was still not effective at all. It didn't achieve what they wanted.
What's some stuff we liked in this movie?
I liked the kills. Those were cool. Like when he uses the compressed air to knock out the skylight. Like that was impressive.
It is super gory. Like very,
Yeah,
very, very gory. Like even more so than the last film, I think.
I did like I mean, again, I think the underlying theme of everything we're saying, like if they had just made this a straight up Chucky loose in a hospital, I think we all would have been fine with it. I liked the theme that they had where at one point, Mika Dorf or whatever the fuck her name is tries to kill herself, and like he comes in, he's like, nope, like not gonna happen. And like he sews up her arm after she tried to slit her wrist and stuff. Like I thought that was a really cool idea that like, no, I'm not going to let you get out that easy. Like, I'm going to pin all this other stuff on you before you can do that.
Seems like that might wake you up, but you know.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how far we want to like go to spoil it or anything, but I just want to say that I really appreciated how good of an actress Fiona Dorff was. Like when she,
I thought she was really good in this.
I really liked her performance. So when she kind of makes her turn or whatever you want to call it at the end, I was like, okay, I would totally watch more movies with her.
I do like
her. The ending of this movie. I was going to say that's what makes the ending of this movie disappointing, because she makes that turn, and she has her first appearance, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
and then they don't do anything with it. She just kind of walks out and leaves. It's like, oh, we could have done another 20 minutes of her being crazy.
I do like her a lot. She's pretty charismatic, I think, and actually helps carry a lot of this thing. Yeah, she looks a lot like her dad, which freaks me out.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. I also had no idea that was his daughter when I was watching this movie, and when she does that change, I'm like, holy shit! Like she does a really great impersonation.
Yeah.
She even had the laugh down, because I told Colleen, I'm like, can you imagine? Because her and her dad sat somewhere in their house, his house or something, just laughing at each other.
The laugh scene, 100%, and that's kind of what my thing with this movie is. There's some endearing things about it, and I think there's some fun aspects to it. It's just unfortunately doesn't feel like it totally comes together.
Yeah. But that's why. But that's to the same extent. That's kind of acceptable, because this is direct to Netflix, so you're not out anything. You can go sit down and you can accept those bad parts and enjoy the good parts and not feel bad about it, because you're not blowing a ton of money or anything.
I was gonna say I wasn't mad about how I felt at the end of the movie. I was just like, oh well. Okay, I would have rather, some other thing has been different, but it was still enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think you can give a movie a pass just because it's on Netflix.
I don't know. I've given a lot of movies passes because it's on Netflix.
It's a different world, Joe,
Agree to disagree. Time is money.
There's nothing wrong with enjoying some B movies, and this has got some B movie qualities to it, I think.
For sure.
Most B movies aren't going to be good throughout the whole thing.
I will say that I think that the last film in the series is better than this.
Yeah, I think now that I look back, I know I said I don't remember it, but I'm pretty sure I liked it better than this.
I think they would be better served kind of doing a little more self-contained, a little straighter laced stories in this, because this road leads you down the Seed of Chucky path, which is kind of what led to the whole thing needing to be rebooted in the first place.
Right.
Because Seed of Chucky
you can only go so far.
Yeah, exactly. It was so far out there, and you kind of just lose part of your audience at some point. So I don't know. I wonder what they're gonna do. Like I think coming out of last year, or the last time they did this, it was really clear. Oh, they definitely should do more of these. And now I'm just like not sure where you go with it now. I mean,
it's a little too big for its britches at this point.
Like I know where you go. Like I know where they are suggesting you go from here, but I'm not sure that's the right answer.
Yeah. And so some of the stuff, because I can see what they were trying to do with the Cult of Chucky, because they're trying to mislead us, and there for a while they didn't make it clear that there's going to be multiple Chuckies, and we're not used to having multiple Chuckies. So that whole angle that they're trying to set up, there was some strong effort there. I think they just didn't execute it completely.
The thing with the third one, and I guess we'll get into like spoiler territory here, so heads up, spoilers. But like a third Chucky ends up at the hospital. And it's just mailed in by somebody. And I believe what we find out towards the end was that Andy did it.
Yes.
And that he hid a gun inside of it.
Yes.
So that he could get it later. Why was he at the hospital though? I haven't totally put that together.
Because he was going after the other Chucky.
Yeah.
I don't remember how
because
he found out he was there.
there's this weird moment where
How does Andy?
like,
How does Andy know there's another Chucky?
because
in the
like
hospital?
it's on the TV or something. Like
Yeah.
there's like a weird moment, like flashback to him in the house with the original Chucky head, and then he starts laughing and he's like, I know you didn't think I was the only one.
Right.
And so then Andy goes, okay, well, I know how to handle those because I've handled you.
I keep having this funny moment with myself where I'm just thinking, I can't get over the fact that it doesn't make any sense that the same person's soul can be in like 5 different dolls. And I'm like, I
little
realize
much.
this is a movie about a killer doll and I need to just let it go, but it's
Yeah.
like stuck in my craw and I can't get it out.
Hey, Voldemort stuck his soul in like 7 different items, so
Yeah.
it's possible.
Oh, okay. I've never seen those movies, but I believe
Sure.
you.
Sure he did.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. The only part that bothers me is that, okay, how can he, if he had a hard enough time transferring his body out of the original Chucky doll, like when he's tried in the past, how did he figure out how to put his soul into multiple Chucky
Well,
dolls?
Now
that's-
he's doing it with like 3 words.
3
just,
words.
Like, walking
So-
up to
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
It was always a thing. It was always a thing in the previous movies that, you know, so that was the crux of the first 3 movies, basically, was that he needed to get out of the doll body and get back into a human. And he was trying to get into Andy specifically, and he almost gets him a couple of times. And then in the 3rd movie, there's like another little kid that he goes after. But it's always a point of plot tension that in order to do it, you have to do this whole long ritual thing.
Right.
And it's kind of
Yeah.
always like, will somebody get to him in time before he finishes this ritual? Now he literally says the first line, and then he jumps to the last line, which is "Give me the power, I beg of you." And
Yeah.
but he just like cuts out all the red, and then it just boom, it just happens immediately.
Yeah.
But
And
he did explain that though.
Oh,
Because
I
he
missed
talked
that.
about there was a website like voodoospells.com or something like
Oh,
that.
that's right.
Voodoo R Us or something.com that
Well,
you learn how to
that's-
shorten it.
That's such a cheap throwaway, though.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah,
bullshit.
totally.
Like literally, I think it was like voodooForDummies.com or something.
Yes, it was.
I found this on a fucking website. Now I do it.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Yeah.
Internet.
So yeah, anything else we want to talk about this movie? We got time, guys.
I like the creepy mom or former mom.
Creepy mom.
The girl
Oh.
who thought Chucky was her child.
Oh,
That
that
lady
was.
Oh no,
That
I
lady
did
was
not like
nutty.
that at all.
I didn't like that at all.
I didn't.
She had like real life problems, and that was super unsettling.
No,
Yeah.
I could do it better.
I should say she performed it well.
Okay, well, I agree. She was very, very good at her performance, but I didn't like it.
I don't like that. I don't like that whole idea. Just put those people out to pasture and call it a day.
Jeez.
There's no fixing that.
Joe.
What? No.
What? Hey, Sam.
What? Come
Yeah.
on.
I don't know. Do you want to see more of these, Joe?
I mean, yeah, I guess I would watch another one. I mean, at this point, I'm so vested. I've seen so many of these. Why not?
All right, Joe. I think that's it, guys, for this movie.
It's amazing.
Would you recommend this movie, Joe?
Oh God, no. Actually, I would say no. Don't bother with it.
Casey?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Why not?
Cece?
I mean, if you want something on in the background, yes.
I'm going to say no. Unless you're
Yeah.
like a huge Chucky fan, you just have to know. I don't, maybe not. Maybe not. All
I
right,
don't need to.
guys. It's going to do it for a review of Cult of Chucky, where there's no cult. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Coming Sunday, April 8th.
She's dead. Wrapped in plastic.
11:30 a.m., February 24th. Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
The Los Angeles Times says Twin Peaks is certainly like nothing else on television.
W.C. Fields would say, I'd rather be here than Philadelphia.
The Washington Post calls it unprecedented. This you gotta see.
Bobby, did you kill Laura Palmer?
Sunday, April 8th, from David Lynch, Twin Peaks.
Hey, I'm Lee Majdoub from See No Evil 2, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. First up, Mr. Toby says, what is everyone's feelings on the fact that Unfriended 2 was filmed and tested already?
Ugh.
Oh boy.
No.
How did the first one?
No,
test?
Unfriended was the one that we liked.
Oh,
Not
Oh,
I
Friended.
didn't
you're right.
like it.
Yeah.
Not-
I'm okay with that.
Get out of here,
Yeah, I
Cece.
was fine with it.
I don't care what you think then, Cece.
Ugh.
Friend request is the one we just did. He says, I remember everyone seemed mostly positive in the first one, but where do you think they can go with the technology this time to not make it seem so samey?
That's funny because that's what I was gonna say. Even though I had my old man reaction to it in the theater when we first watched the first one, they got to up their gimmick.
Yeah, like, do you just have an 8-person Skype call? Like, how do you...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the technology has not changed enough since the first one came
I
out.
suppose the biggest thing you could do is have people on their phones out and about more, like on Skype.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or Instagram
Yeah,
Live,
sure.
like that kind of a thing. That's much bigger now than when, like Facebook
Yeah.
Live, Instagram
Or
Live.
do you do prequel and have everybody on like Razor phones? And,
Yeah, just everyone
it's
page,
just like pager screens on the.
they page spooky stuff back and forth. Like, hey, I just paged my friend Boob. that's how he knows. That's how he knows it's me. May or may not be a real life thing that happened. Next up, shit, I gotta figure out who this is from because it's important.
Steve. I bet it's Steve.
This is from Christopher.
Formal.
Christopher says, "Hey BGH crew, super pumped back to Spooky School in Milwaukee. The Oriental is an amazing classic theater and it's awesome you scored it for the event. I have not been to the Great Lakes Distillery before. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a Milwaukee expat, so I wanted to share some things you might be interested in while there. Von Trier's Beer Garden. It's right across from the Oriental. It's got a classic German beer house look and feel.
Been there.
A must for the beer tavern lover. You been there? You been to this area? Oh, you met
Oh,
with
yeah.
met with Andy.
Yeah,
right?
I've got friends that live like right around the corner from the Oriental, and that bar is super fun, old school Milwaukee.
Conejitos, a Mexican restaurant that happens to be right across from the distillery. Get a good base of paper plate dollar tacos for the local spirits to come.
Ooh.
Number 3, Cops Frozen Custard. I'm only mentioning because they could be offering their amazing seasonal pumpkin pecan praline custard. If the opportunity presents itself, jump on it. Number 4, in a supermarket, you might stumble like I did on Madison's Just Coffee Co-op's Blend Reanimator. Pick attached. And the Giant Pumpkin Halloween store at the State Fairgrounds, pick attached, a place for spooky season stuff. Decent, not great, but it's a pumpkin the size of a house. It's like a big blow up thing. You sent me a picture, you could like see it from the highway.
Nice.
And number 6, Chubby's Cheesesteaks. It's a cheesesteaks. It's a block away from the Oriental and tastes amazing at 2 a.m.
Great, because I will be eating there at 2 a.m.
I know I sound like I'm working for the Chamber of Commerce, but I'm really just excited for the event and the fact that you picked my hometown. See you there, Chris in Madison, aka Super Vince 2000.
Did I may have met him at a concert, but I could be making that up. Good story, huh?
Yeah. Last thing, Joe. Somebody sent this email a few weeks ago, and I sent it out, and you guys commented on it. This person who sent in this music video from this band called, I guess it's called Horror, but it's spelled HO9909.
Oh yeah, I randomly like 2 weeks before you sent that out stumbled upon those guys. I think just like clicking around recommendations of I don't even know what band on Spotify and found them. I'm not super into the music, but if you watch their like live videos, it looks insane.
They're like batshit crazy.
Yeah, it looks like a ton of fun.
Like blood and gore and stuff, right?
Yeah, and it just looks like the crowd like goes nuts for this stuff. So it looks. I mean, the music is. I'm making it sound like it's some Slipknot bullshit, but like the music is actually pretty enjoyable. It's just like not my style per se, but it's pretty entertaining as it is. So yeah.
Every metal fan thinks that some kind of metal is bullshit that someone else is way into. So I can't keep up with it. It's too much.
Yeah, I 100%. I know I sound like an asshole saying that, but you know, if that's what you're into, enjoy yourself. You know, whatever.
Whatever, man. So yeah, horror spelled HO9909. Whatever, that not Ho99 or whatever.
Nine.
Oh no.
Love it.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Joe, hit us up on Twitter.
Oh man, we got so many tweets. We use 2 hashtags over here at Bloody Good Horror. First, BGH Classics we use if you're listening to an old episode and something tickles your fancy and you want to send it in. We got one this week from @MrFinn607, and I am super uncomfortable reading this, but I think it falls more on you, Eric. Episode 47. I apologize to the people offended by my talk of Jennifer Carpenter as the leader of our itty bitty titty committee.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, that conversation may have happened.
It's one of those things like I know I've gone back and read the news that I wrote, and like I'm sure we've gone back and listened to episodes where you like cringe at the ignorant shit you've said. Yeah. But you know,
listen,
10 years, you're bound to say something stupid.
I was in my 20s. What are you gonna do?
And that's it. So yeah, hashtag BGH Classics if you want to send some of those in. And then we also use hashtag AskBGH that we post up every week, and you can send in questions or just ridiculous comments. We got a gaggle here. First up from @BrunoTheWeber. Hey guys, what toys from your childhood were more likely to murder people?
Good question.
You remember Boglins? I think we've talked about Boglins on the show.
Talked about Boglins. Yeah.
Yeah. Those for sure. My favorite monster, if you remember that one, is like this purple monster. Like
so they remade
Didn't
those.
Didn't they have a movie?
Somebody remade those recently with a Kickstarter, and they were like really expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
What was that?
I don't know.
That you
I
put
almost
tapes in and he talked to you.
Oh, Teddy Ruxpin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Joe. I almost thought about getting one of the new Boglins. So, or that, or they have new Mad Balls.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mad Balls would be super fun.
Yeah.
Boglins were always like because you put your hand in it, you can move the eyes and stuff, but then your hand would smell like I don't know, like used rubbers for about a week.
CC, he's clearly too young for this conversation.
Was it
I
an
guess
urban
so.
legend that Dee Snider was one of the owners of Mad Balls?
I don't remember that.
I did not ever hear that. Let's move on.
Cool story.
@Pittman1382, are you guys doing a show on Leatherface? Probably, right? I think it's gonna be in theaters, right?
Yeah, it looks. I
Yeah, I think
cannot
so.
imagine. Like, there is literally nothing about a Texas Chainsaw prequel that I want to watch,
Yeah.
but it seems like something that we probably should. So.
But there was nothing about a Boo Medea movie that we wanted to watch.
I didn't hear. I didn't read it, but I actually heard it was relatively decent. So
I disagree, Joe. I'd rather watch a Medea movie.
I think our own Evan's seen it already
Huh?
at a screening.
Huh. Next one from @IndeedYouJesse. Not a question, just saying. At least it's not Seed of Chucky. That's all.
Yeah, I never saw Seed of Chucky, but I know.
I actually liked Seed of Chucky.
That kid, like his son there, his voice is so goddamn annoying. Like
That's why it's so funny.
that movie could have been on the same level as Meet Joe Black, and I still would have hated it because of that kid's voice.
To me,
yeah.
I think the pinnacle of that series will always be Bride.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, for sure.
I think what Ronnie Yu did with that movie was really kind of brilliant. I think the script, it was like meta and added just enough humor at a time when that was really perfect. You know, like kind of late '90s post Scream. It's just a really, really fun movie.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching Bride of Chucky.
It's a good one.
John Ritter's in that movie.
Jennifer Tilly has been a crush of mine for well over 25 years. So.
I love Jennifer Tilly.
Next up from @JohnnyOrster. Let's move on. After years of repeated setbacks, how did Chucky transfer his consciousness into multiple bodies? Did I stroke out during that scene?
Yeah, no, he the rules have been fudged a little bit.
Went on the internet, found
Yep.
it super quick. Nobody else apparently has picked up on that. Next one from @JeffFoster1202. Ever wonder if Brad Dourif would make an attractive young woman? We now know the answer.
Yeah,
Yes, he would.
she's she's cute.
Brad Dourif on golf.
You know, the other thing that happens in the older movies when he's trying to possess somebody is it's a whole thing. When the farther he gets into the incantation, like the wind picks up and there's
There's
Yeah.
wind, there's thunder, there's lightning.
there's leaves and lightning and shit. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. And this is just it happens, and then they go and they open their eyes and they're awake.
Next up from @MadSciencePro. Who would win in a fight between Chucky and Uncle Traveling Matt? I'm sure this has kept at least one staffer awake at night.
I don't know, man. I gotta go with Uncle Traveling Matt. He scared me more as a kid than Chucky did.
I don't know. He's got old brittle bones though. I've got to imagine Uncle Traveling Max is dead by now. I mean, this is
Max.
Wasn't it Max or was Matt?
It's Matt.
All right. Really?
I know.
That
Believe
sounds-
me, Joe. This is the most terrifying thing in my childhood. I remember his name.
I think what is amazing that after 30 plus years, I always thought it was Mac. So we learned something tonight.
There you go.
And last but not least, from @Bruno the Weber, do you guys know Fefo, popular 80s kid show star from Brazil? He looks a lot like Chucky, but precedes him by at least 6 years.
He
And
actually-
he sent in a picture, and
Whew.
It's in the
it
video.
looks like Chucky crossed with a dog, crossed with someone who had ball sacks stapled to his face.
It's honestly, it's very Chucky-like, and it's horrifying.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
That's a nightmare. I am going to look up videos of this after we're done.
There's
Fefo.
also too, like I interviewed Mancini years ago, and he had said that the main influence was obviously like the My Buddy dolls.
Yeah.
Which were huge at the time. Cece's got a blank look on her face.
No, I know.
My buddy
My
and me.
buddy.
I'm not that young.
My buddy.
Fufa, dear God, is a wide awake nightmare.
Like why the face balls? I don't understand that part.
Why
Why
the
do you have
face
balls in your face?
Why was Alf a thing? I don't know.
Alf was awesome.
Alf was
take that
awesome.
He had a penis on his face.
And he ate cats. Who cares?
That was in the later seasons when things got weird, Caesar, all right? He didn't always have dicks in his
You want to
mouth.
get really weird? Al Gore looks exactly like Alf.
Wait, what?
Al Gore looks exactly like Alf.
I don't see that.
I will,
Dear God,
I-
there's video of this freaking thing dancing, and it will give
I'm
me
about to
nightmares.
Google it, and I guarantee
Oh,
you someone
man.
has compared those two pictures together.
Holy shit. Fefo. Hi, everybody, it's a Fefo. I got a ball sex on my face. I don't know how to do a Brazilian accent, so...
It was not that, but okay, I'll go with it.
No. Oh, no, obviously. That Al Gore Alf. I'm looking this up.
I'm actually not seeing a picture. That kind of blows my mind.
No.
Oh, the top
nobody-
link. Al Gore totally looks like Alf from cheeseburger.com, Joe.
Interesting.
There we go. I got it right
Did you post this?
here.
Yes, maybe a little bit. All right. That's it for tweets.
Al Gore looks like Alf.com. That's not a website. Don't go to there. Joe, we gotta give some shout outs to some sponsors and stuff again.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't put me on the spot. Yeah, so Great Lakes Distillery, where we'll be kicking off the night on October 21st. If you give me 2 seconds, I will pull up the other ones because I didn't realize we were doing this again. WMSE, where Andy will be on next Thursday. Check that out. And they're also
We should mention it's a radio
station.
We should mention it's a radio station, yeah.
And they're also sponsoring a big chunk of the event, so by all means, give them some love. Renegade Brewing donating some beer, so thanks to them. And I think that's it, right? WMSE.org is where you can check out that radio
Yes.
station as well.
We are being sponsored by a .org, Joe.
We got the orgs.
How do you feel about that?
Man.
A non-profit organization.
I've always wanted to be a part of an org.
Clearly, there's no oversight. Spooky School. It's almost time to go back. You guys pumped?
Yes.
Get
and we
pumped.
should say Jeff Harkins as well, who designed the poster and T-shirt and all that fun.
Yes. Very nice. All right, guys. That's going to do it. Curse of Chucky next week. Happy Death Day. Is that what it's called? Happy Die Day?
Yep.
Happy Died Day.
Die Day? Weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird name. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Get your Spooky School tickets now. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.